Hello, everyone. I'm Marcel Vanderweer, editor of OHS Canada. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules to join us today. Today's webinar, Leveraging Mass Notification to Enhance Safety in a Post-COVID World, will explain how organizations can deploy mass notification systems in their environments to help protect people and send health and safety reminders. I'd like to introduce PJ Smith. She is a territory manager with Singlewire software in Wisconsin. Over to you, PJ.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being here today. It's fun to get a chance to address a new audience. We typically only interact with IT folks, and I believe this audience to be a little bit varied from different parts of the business and organizations and stuff. So it's fun to be with you today to bring this message. Today, we're going to talk about some mass notification trends and what has happened during pandemic this year, and how have our customers and other organizations we interact with kind of modified their communication trends and communication habits, if you will, during this time. What do we see out in the future for that? How will we continue to evolve? And what are some of the recommended tools and approaches we would make for your organization as you continue to adapt and evolve in a world that includes pandemic response, right? And it wouldn't be a Singlewire event if we didn't do some shameless plugs. So I will try to keep it to a minimum. I will try to keep the language very fitting for equipping you to go into your organization and adopt some of these best practices, no matter what the tool set you own is, but certainly want you to leave here today imagining that Singlewire might be a great new part of your organization's approach. So just a little bit of a level set about why Singlewire and where have we come from that we feel equipped, imagine that we could be equipped to help your organization with mass notification. So who are we? Our company is called Singlewire. Our software is called Informacast. And we have been selling this single solution for over 20 years. Way before pandemic, there was a horrible incident in the United States, the September 11th bombings, and our very first customer was the Pentagon. And so we have been working with organizations in government and education, manufacturing, and healthcare all over the world for 20 years to help improve safety and notification paths to employees. So again, we can improve safety, improve employee morale, just improve the culture so that folks feel connected and they know what to do in times of potential emergency. So that's who we are. I'm way over here by the wall, so you probably can't see me, but I'm wearing a turquoise t-shirt way over here. So here we go. Our software, again, is called Informacast, and we have tons of great customers across Canada. So some very notable logos here on the screen. But what I wanted to share with you is just, again, level set here of what we do that helps organizations with mass notification. And so our software works with all kinds of devices in your network and in your mobile employees' hands to improve the speed, the reach, and the success rate of alerts. And so certainly when we're on campus and business is just doing its regular thing, we work with all kinds of sensors and devices and technologies on the campus to help you with everyday business communications and certainly emergency alerting. But now during pandemic, that has certainly expanded, and we believe these same mass notification tools have gotten some great facelifts, if you will, uplifts to help folks respond. And so I'm going to jump ahead here. I'm going to jump ahead here and talk about some of those issues that during this pandemic we are experiencing. I do want to stop and confess, this is so funny, such funny timing that I would be with you today, visiting with you about pandemic response and mass notification, and I personally am in fighting COVID. And so I got my diagnosis on Sunday. I'm feeling fine. I promise you, I'm in a room all by myself. No one is at risk of catching the thing for me today. But I personally am experiencing COVID this week. But isn't that really an issue that's facing us all, right? From day to day, different employees are taking ill or caring for loved ones, right? People are learning and figuring out how to work unusual hours in unusual places. We could all tell stories about getting wireless internet turned up in the home or wherever, right? Our regular communication channels, those things that we've relied on, right? Like a phone on the desk or a computer, email, etc. Those things are challenged minimally and sometimes completely unavailable now that we've left the building. I think that each of our organizations are recognizing that our revenues and our budgets are impacted, and that is so true. And I know so many organizations are feeling it. Yesterday, I was on the phone doing a demonstration talking with a federal agency from Canada, and they were telling us that their budget for next year is going to be impacted more than 40% as they attempt to help the rest of the government, deal with pandemic and coronavirus results. And so they, even though their revenues didn't change, they have been asked, to help step up for others who have been impacted, and it's going to hurt really bad. So this is definitely an issue that is facing us all. And we all recognize that mobile notifications are important. Two-way communication using multiple channels, right? And so maybe you are a director of communication or director of HR or work on those teams, and you've been faced with that situation at work where someone, has said to you, please let everybody know that blah, blah, blah is going to da, 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 right? And you have this impetus that you need to let a lot of people in your organization understand this situation, and you might need to receive some feedback from them, right? Some of you may have adopted a strategy where you are asking for a response every day. And so we'll get into some of those, how our customers and how you might be able to create some notification patterns where you're asking for feedback every day from that workforce or those members in your community. So I've covered quite a lot of this. I think we are all in agreement that our business continuity risk, or the risk to our business continuity, is increased, that we have higher risk today than we had, say, a year ago. We also would be in agreement that the conditions we're working in are changing rapidly, right? We're going back to work. We're not going back to work. We're in shutdown. We're not in shutdown. We're sending kids back to school. We're not sending kids back to school, right? And so all of these conditions are changing very rapidly. And so we do need that ability, again, to communicate with the organization in real time. And it would be great if we could receive message confirmations on their well-being. So I imagine most of the folks on this call probably live somewhere on an orange dot on that map. Hopefully no one in the dark brown. I think that's the most intense or most heavily impacted area in Canada. So hope that you all are safe and well and healthy. Wanted to show you this specific article from Canada. Your manufacturing heartland faces bumpy road back. And so again, just kind of furthering that comment I made, right? reopening isn't happening all at once, and it's a series of starts and stops, and we're going to continue to have this variety of audiences that are remote, that are on campus half-time, that are hybrid, etc. And so how can we adopt mass communication or mass notification tools to address that issue? I want to show you this real quick URL, and it will be in the follow-up material, and maybe I can get it into our chat window as well. But we do have a coronavirus resource page, singlewire.com/coronavirus-mass-notification. And so some super great resources out there. My personal favorite comes from this hospital. I apologize. My personal favorite comes from this hospital. It was in New York, and this is a company that pushes a button every time someone is released from the hospital who has recovered from COVID. And so when they push the button over the speaker system inside the hospital, the system plays The Empire State of Mind by Alicia Keys. And it's just a happy way to know across the organization that someone has recovered and is going home after a battle with COVID. So we love that story, and just a happy way that people are using mass notification tools to share information with the community. As an aside, they implemented their solution in under 4 hours. So they went from, this is what we're doing, to sending their first message in 4 hours one afternoon, which was pretty cool too. I've mentioned this, but I want to specifically talk about or encourage you to think through how many diverse audiences there are, right? So of course, mobile is paramount, right? Everybody has a phone. Many of your workers are at home, and fewer people are physically on campus to get the information. Of course, healthcare, food processing, and other essential industries are different, right? We still have, retailers open and things of that nature. But for many of you, the idea of connecting to folks off of campus might be new, and mobile is really paramount. Some of you are using tools like Microsoft Teams and WebEx Teams or Slack, things of that nature. And so I just want to encourage you that as you're considering or adopting new mass notification tools and taking up exercises to help you improve your mass notification, be thinking about these tools that are already on those desktops that you could creatively use to notify everyone. And so on the left there of your screen, you can see that we have a Microsoft Teams channel, and we can get a scenario launched where all the other Teams channels receive that notification, right? So this one happens to say sulfur dioxide has been released, and we could make that image a green yuck face or whatever we needed so folks would know, hey, something has happened here, right? So over on the right of the screen, you see that what looks like a Mac computer, and it's got a big red screen, and that is one of our tools that we call Desktop Notifier. And so this is an application that can run and launch and pop out of email, Teams, anything. It can take over the screen if you choose for people to see that and they have to respond to it before they can go back to their email or their customer interface, etc. And so Desktop Notifier is important as you think about mass notification and what tools do you need. All right, I want to talk about two potential messages that you might want to be sending to your audiences, and then we'll do the first demo. And so think about as people are returning to campus or people are on campuses or in the buildings, you might need something like a scheduled broadcast for time to sanitize the waiting area. And so the other day I was helping my daughter get a license plate, right? This goes back a couple weeks. But we were there getting her a new license plate for her car, and there must have been at least two people, and all their job was to just spray and wipe and spray and wipe. As soon as someone would leave that window, they would come and they would sterilize it, and then the next customer would be invited to that window, right? So we know that everybody is doing a lot more of that. And so maybe in your organization, you want to have a scheduled broadcast to help folks to remember to sanitize their waiting area, or just wipe down their phone. It's just a matter of, cleanliness and improved hygiene during this time. So this is one way that these mass notification tools can be used, is to generate these scheduled broadcasts. Another way is to reach out specifically on a daily basis, or whatever the right timing is for your organization, and to send a notification and ask for a response. Are you feeling well and healthy today? So we have had customers from education, manufacturing, healthcare, across the board, government, working with our software and different tools so that every single day they are getting a report back from their employee base saying, yes, I'm healthy, or no, I'm experiencing symptoms, or I have a family member who is sick, etc. And so I want to show you an example of what that could look like. All right. So primarily, we're just focused now on my phone. So you can see here on the screen, this is my own personal iPhone, and on the right side of your screen, you see a demo room in Madison, Wisconsin. And we are going to demonstrate how these mass notification tools can send information over to the on-campus types of technologies. But for this first demo, we're very focused on just the mobile notification and how to get notifications out quickly, and how to receive those responses and what that could look like. So I have a message template here, and it says COVID update, and I am going to send that notification, and you're going to see lots of things happen on my desktop. So you see I got a WebEx Teams notification, I got an email notification, and I got the desktop notifier that I talked about, right? This one happens to have a logo from another demo I did this week, but I can show you here that I have to respond here, and I can say I am not healthy or I am healthy, and I can send that away. And just that quick, I can go and look at this message. I can look at it on a web console, which I will show you, or here on my phone, and I can see real time who has said and who has responded, right? And so maybe you do this by a team or a distribution list at different times of the day. Maybe you need to do this by the shift, etc. But that is what that looks like. And then again, we have, the mass notification tool you would choose would have some kind of a console where you could also see more expanded reporting, etc. So that is what those mobile notifications can look like. I think I need to show you the email also can be very similar in format, and you can receive those responses there. I apologize. And then finally, we talked about those mass notification tools, whether that be Microsoft Teams or WebEx Teams, etc. So we have that option as well, as you can go right into that typical collaboration channel that your team might be working in. So that is how, just an example of one way mass notification tools can be used to send notification and get responses real time from disparate teams or mobile teams working in unusual or out of the ordinary places. I'm going to go into next now the some more use cases and how we think this can help in these situations. Oops, here we go. Okay, so in addition to mobile, what else should you be thinking about, or do we recommend that you think about today and for future adaptations of these needs and so on? So we really recommend that you think about health advisories, of course, something similar to what I just showed, but also just as we're getting into flu season or different things, you might start to use mass notification tools to encourage folks in, nutrition or exercise or whatever, right? And then, of course, I'm frequently told in Canada you don't have this issue, but active shooter alerts or campus emergencies of some sort, really recommend that you be thinking about what are the mass notification tools that we have should we have an incident of violence in the workplace. We also recommend that you look for a solution that does some automated weather alerting, right? And so my home is in Kansas in the United States, and so we do have tornadoes. I know up where you guys live, you have bad weather in the winter, or maybe a tornado here and there, but you can get automated weather alerting from any of those kind of CAP or Common Alerting Protocol services. And then also we encourage you to make sure that whatever systems you're using will allow you to get some one button to push or some panic button like functionality. And then we also recommend that you think about what happens in your organization if someone dials 911. If someone in the organization would be sick from COVID or for any reason and they go off hook and they dial 911, what happens? Who knows? Who doesn't know? And who needs to know, right? And how can we report and protect and so on that situation so that A, of course, our coworker or our stakeholder is best protected, but also that the organization has a known, practiced, prepared response. And so that protects the organization as well. And then we really see a lot of trends, and pandemic has really exposed this, where we need to do more in the facilities integration piece. For your organization, that might look like door locks or video surveillance cameras, right? People want to get eyes on those situations even when they're not on campus. It might mean some kind of a sensor in your data center where we know if the moisture content is too high or something is too hot, right? If a line has stopped out on the manufacturing floor, we want a sensor that will send a notification. And I really encourage you to think about those digital signage applications that your organization has already invested in. When there is a time that you need to notify everybody that a situation has occurred, I encourage you to make sure your tools will envelop that digital signage solution as well, so that you can get as close to 100% of your stakeholders notified as possible. I'm going to show I showed the web console, but I wanted to show just real quick, and I'm sure some of your operations centers, your safety centers, and so on have a variety of technologies they use for their command center, their incident command center. But our software is frequently used to overlay all of those technologies and bring those systems together to integrate them more tightly together so that you can get those notifications out. If there's someone from Portage College on the line, I hope you'll forgive me to tell a story about you, but you all had an incident in Portage, and there was an arrest made off of campus, but the bad guy found his way onto campus, and there was a violent incident on campus. And the public safety team there at the university had no way to interact with the city's public safety team. They had no way to interact with their campus staff and such about where the guy was with the gun and things of that nature. And so after we kind of worked through all the incidents of that situation, they really learned that they could apply this Informacast command center to trigger those multiple messages from that one button. And so folks, felt a lot more secure and believed that, had a lot more confidence that in future situations, they would get better information and be able to respond more appropriately. And so again, if it's not Informacast, we encourage you as you choose mass notification tools to look for something that has the ability to easily trigger multiple technologies, multiple messages, etc., from that one button. Okay. I would like to show just one more example of that and what that can look like in the environment, and then we'll be wrapping up for the day. I've gone a little faster than expected, Marcel, but we'll do this demo and then we have some resources to share. So again, what you're seeing on your screen, besides my beautiful babies, is my iPhone. And this is the Informacast application. And then I'm going to trigger what it would look like on campus if somebody went off hook and dialed 911. So in this scenario, you won't see anything happen with the mobile device. You'll just see that on the technologies in the campus. I apologize. I forgot to clear from my weather alert that I sent earlier. So let me do that one more time now. So I've got my phones cleared. We're looking at the full demo room, and I'm going to push the button again. 911. When someone goes off hook and dials 911, what can it look like? So very simply, we can send that visual notification to the other phones. We can send that over to IP speakers or digital displays in the environment, right? And so folks can be alerted both on premise and mobile, if appropriate, that something in the environment is going on. So I'm going to clear that. This time, it's going to be a little louder. We're going to emulate what could happen if somebody pressed a panic button. Oh, Marcel, I figured it out. I didn't share the audio from this application and go to webinar. That's why we're not hearing the voice. I apologize. But so you can see that there are lots of things that have happened in the environment, right? So our IP phones got a notification. You saw the strobe lights and so on, and then also the digital signage, right? And so again, we recommend that when you're choosing mass notification tools, that you use a system, that you use tools that will tie everything together so that people get the notification wherever they are in front of whatever device they happen to be right now. Awesome. Okay, I'm sorry I messed up the audio on that piece. Okay, so look at that, an email from OHS Canada. That's funny. So starting to kind of wrap this up now, I wanted to point you towards several resources that we would offer you. And certainly there's lots of good ones out there, but for Singlewire, we do continuously update and create new blog content with all kinds of folks across our great industry and ecosystem to help create, best practices and help folks to be the most safe they can be. And so this one was very recently using mass notification to manage campus COVID outbreaks, right? So you could visit our blog and see that. And again, even if you don't use our set of tools, there's lots of good best practices in there to use. And then also right there, you could sign up to participate in our support community. And so you'll see lots of folks from HR, safety, community, posting questions and use of different tools and how to make them all work together the most efficiently. And so I really recommend that you check out those resources. And then hope you have a pen and paper handy, or you can screenshot this real quick. But some of the easiest ways to create your critical communication plan is to just go back to those simplest questions. Remember when we learned the who, what, where, when, why? And I just can't encourage you enough to recognize that just working through that exercise with your team and thinking about what's the situation, what's the message, what's the trigger, who do we need to tell, and where are they, how do we reach them? Those simple questions will be so useful as you create your critical communication plan. And again, even post-pandemic or whatever the next pandemic is, right? Whatever the next crisis is we're preparing for, this will be a useful mantra, if you will, as you create those plans. So I hope that's valuable to you. I do want to call out that it is a vast ecosystem of technologies and manufacturers and so on that we represent, right? So our software happens to work with every one of the folks here, but this picture very likely represents what your organization already owns, right? So if we started down here, maybe your UC system is from Microsoft or from 8x8, right? And you have some advanced network devices, or you might have something from Washiga Labs or digital signage from BrightSign, etc., right? So everyone's network, all of our organizations could make your own, pie chart here of all these things. And we just want you to really be encouraged that you can find a tool like Informacast that will tie them all together to improve the safety of your stakeholders, your organization. So I do have one special offer, Marcel, and then that is the end of my content. We do have a free trial happening through the end of this calendar year. So if you shoot a note to sales@singlewire.com, we will give you a free trial of the software for up to 100 users for over 2 weeks. And I'm very happy to help you get it set up if you're interested. But Marcel, that's what I have today. And is there any questions?
Thank you so much, PJ, for that informative session. We do have a few questions from the audience, and just as a reminder, if anyone from the audience has a question they'd like to ask, you are able to type it into the GoToWebinar interface, and we will ask that to PJ. So, PJ, the first question is, what technology must be in place for this type of system to work?
Sure. Hopefully that question came in before the ecosystem channel slide, but the world is a very diverse place for technology, certainly, and our software can work with any of them, but for the most part today, many of these industry providers are working with open standards so that we can find a way to integrate any of these things, whether that be IP or several other acronyms that folks can use. We can make it all work together. So yes.
Great. A second question is, you mentioned manufacturing in the presentation. How is this type of mass notification strategy used in manufacturing?
Absolutely. Great question. So what we see in manufacturing, and we have a number of large Canadian manufacturers in our customer base. And what we see them using this software for, I was just going to go back to that visual again. Oh, yeah, right here. So we see we see those manufacturing partners, we see them sending out this health advisory before the shift comes. And those folks that are going to be now approaching, the warehouse or whatever today, they have already done their pre-screening on their mobile device and sent back their health check for the day. So they have a green light, right? So they can just get their temperature checked and go on through the doors, etc. We also see in manufacturing more and more of these Internet of Things types of integrations, whether that be a line stop or a moisture sensor or even an impact sensor. There's so many of these kinds of technologies that will detect activity in an environment, and our software can notify based on that, right? So if somebody bashed in your warehouse door at 3 in the morning, we could tell you that. Something like that.
Great, thanks, PJ. We have one final question here, and that is, will this work with Microsoft systems?
Sure. I'm not sure if the question is about Microsoft phone systems or specific Microsoft things, but we absolutely will integrate with Microsoft collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams, and hopefully in the future also Microsoft phones. We work closely with Microsoft and we co-develop strategies with them. So we believe that we will continue to be a part of that Microsoft ecosystem for a very long time.
Great. So yes, that is all the questions we have. I'd like to close by once again thanking you, PJ, and everyone for joining us. For the latest news and information on workplace health and safety in Canada, visit ohscanada.com. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.